Sawasdee krab. Once again, Kasit Piromya from Bangkok. Today is Saturday, the 7th of September, 2019. I was missing from chit chat with you as of last weekend. As I was out of town, I was down in Hat Yai attending an annual conference on ASEAN community organized by the ASEAN Dr. Thanat Korman Center of the Songkhla University. I will talk about ASEAN in a later sessions. But today I would like to say something about a regional organization called ASEAN Parliamentarians for Human Rights. The abbreviation is APHR. It is a non-profit, non-governmental organization comprising almost 100 current members of parliaments of various Southeast Asian countries, former members of parliaments, some human rights advocates, some social activists. But most of the members are more than 50% are the current members of parliaments of the ASEAN country, namely Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, the Philippines, and Indonesia in particular. Then the rest, about 30-40%, are former members of parliaments, social activists, human rights advocates, and so on. This regional organization about 15 years ago did have another name, ASEAN Parliamentarians for Myanmar. At that time, I think the organization was working on the release of Daw Aung San Suu Kyi, who was more or less under house arrest. And we were also helping Myanmar liberals and Democrats to advocate for the return to civilian rule, namely for the military government of Myanmar at that time to give up their authorities, which I think led eventually to the writing of the new constitution, the release of Aung San Suu Kyi, the general elections, and what we have now of today, the sort of quasi-democracy in the country called Myanmar. But I think the work of the ASEAN Parliamentarian for the Myanmar affairs was completed more or less. So it transformed itself from concentrating on one particular issue, Myanmar, to the human rights situation in Southeast Asia in general. And I have been a member of both two bodies, and currently I am on the executive board of the APHR. What I would like to say today is of the fact that about a fortnight ago, that is towards the end of August and the beginning of September of this month, the APHR had decided to send a fact-finding mission to Thailand post-elections of the 24th of March of this year. And the delegation composed about 5-6 members of parliaments coming from Malaysia, Singapore, the Philippines, and Indonesia. So these are friends of Thailand in general. And they were here for a couple of days. The delegation, it was being led by a gentleman called Charles San Diego. He is a member of the Malaysian parliament from the Democrat Party of Malaysia. The delegation, when they were here, they met several representatives of Thai political parties, both the government side, the coalition side, and the opposition. They met various international NGOs and so on based in Thailand, in Bangkok. They also met the media, the civil society, human rights commission, and so on. So they have an extensive, I think, a wide-ranging program meeting various players of Thai politics, as well as foreigners residing in Thailand, doing various things, especially on the promotion of human rights and democracy. After they left, they made a report, and today I just want to report to you what were the recommendations by the ASEAN Parliamentarian for Human Rights to the Thai government under General Prayut Chan-o-cha. I think there were three main recommendations. One is urging the General Prayut's government to amend the constitution of 2017 as is deemed internationally and in many quarters in Thailand, especially the liberals and the Democrats, that the present constitution of Thailand is not fully democratic. It makes Thailand a quasi-democracy, half authoritarian, half democratic. And in that sense, it infringes upon the basic human rights, freedom of expression, of assembly, and so on, of the Thai people in general. So the APHR delegation did urge the Thai government of General Prayut Chan-o-cha to move immediately on the constitution amendments to make Thailand a truly democratic regime. That's the first point. The second point is that they have also recommended to the Thai government today to repeal, to end all the decrees and executive orders issued by the then military-led government of Thailand of the past 5 years. Before the general elections on the 24th of March of this year, we were ruled by the military junta. And then they have come out with so many decrees and so on that are in contravention to basic democratic principle and human rights. And they have been curtailing, freedom of expressions and right to assembly, to express and so on, which I think many of you listening to me have personally experienced of that lack of freedom. And I think the atmosphere of too much of the authority, placing themselves on our heads and so on. We don't feel that we have that much of the freedom to do things, to express our views and so on. So APHR has urged the Prayut government to do away with all these military decreed orders and laws and so on, because now we are entering into a more democratic phases of life. We should not have the remnants of authoritarian laws and orders and decrees in existence in Thailand anymore. So we should open up the country, and I think it is in the hands of the government of General Prayut to do this immediately. It doesn't take much time, make a declaration by the government, inform it, say it in the parliament and so on, or to have the parliament issue a sort of a comprehensive law to do away with all of these military orders and decrees that are in contravention to the basic human rights. Then the third point that the APHR delegation did recommend to the Prayut government is that now there has been, I think, quite noticeable, and observed by both the domestic actors and international community that the current government authorities have been using laws and the judicial branches and so on to harass the members of the opposition as well as people who have a different ideas and so on, social activists and so on, human rights advocates. It doesn't come to the point where it is that serious, but I think from what we have been reading, the newspapers, social media, looking televisions and listening to radio and so on, it seems that lately people that are being requested to go to the police station, people that have been, I think, placed under arrest or have been charged by the judicial bodies of Thailand seems to be those that are not part of the coalition government, namely the opposition or people with different ideas. And this is quite unbecoming if Thailand were to move forward in a democratic life and process, and it would be unbecoming for General Prayut Chan-o-cha, the coalition Prime Minister, to allow this to happen, because for him to show his sensitivity, for him to show his earnestness towards democracy, he must not allow any of the bureaucratic agencies to harass the opposition or people that have a different ideas and so on. You cannot use the executive as well as the judicial authority to get rid or to silence the opposition. Thailand should be above this type of behavior. We have high culture, we have long tradition, we have tradition of tolerance, acceptance of pluralism and so on. So we should allow people with different ideas to express themselves, to be free in expressing themselves, and the authorities should not use any undemocratic and illegal means to harass people with different ideas. So these were the three recommendations of the APHR, ASEAN Parliamentarian for Human Rights, to the Thai government under General Prayut Chan-o-cha. Hopefully that this recommendation will be heeded and considered. But it is not only the responsibility of the government. I think all the political parties, all the human rights movement, the Human Rights Commission of Thailand, anti-corruption bodies and so on, Office of the Ombudsman, all of these agencies and so on can act in unison in order to ensure that Thailand quickly return to a full-fledged democratic country. There will be the rule of law and not the rule by law by any authorities in Thailand, so that we can live in freedom and we can remain the Thai people, the free people in its truest sense. Thank you very much. ขอบคุณมากครับ สวัสดีครับ